Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another episode of Mind Your Puckin' Business with Jeffrey Krentzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks. Good morning to you. On another, I feel like we got a little bit of a theme going on here. We usually tape on Tuesdays, and I feel like every Tuesday now it is like this cloudy, dreary nonsense outside, which we're dealing with here again today.
Not good for our internet, I'll tell you that much.
It is not good for the internet in the studio. That is correct. Anyway, welcome to the program. Coming to you as always live from the Undefeated Media Studios in Bergen County, New Jersey. Episode number 10, DS on the Spanish dial. Of the Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast program, heard on iTunes, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you can find us. And you can always find us and contact us, email at mypbshow.com. That's MYPB show. Oh, no. I said that wrong. mypbshow@gmail.com. See the weather. Oh, look at that. If you're watching live, you can see it on the bottom of your screen. Right. So the internet is working today, which is good. Welcome, Dougie. How you doing?
I'm great. We're in double digits now.
We are in double digits. Show number 10.
Boom.
So now we have to be better, right? Like you can't mess up.
Always get better. Yeah.
Always get better. Wait, a thing that we can be better with.
What's that?
We'll segue right into it.
Oh, we're going right in?
We're going to go right into the embarrassment. We could be better, or I could have been a lot better with my Week 7 NFL picks. We had gone into this week as a recap. We had 6 weeks of the NFL season. We had winning weeks 4 of 6. We were 4-2. So this was a critical week. We always pick 5 games on the program. So we're either going to win or lose a week. And this week was atrocious. So I'm going to call myself out on that. We had to do a recap. We had Atlanta -2.5 at home versus Detroit, which would have hit if Todd Gurley didn't get self a chance, which they took advantage of. But we lost, so we're not going to. Almost doesn't count with gambling. You still lose. Tennessee +1.5 at home versus Pittsburgh. That lost. And Jacksonville +8 in the Chargers also was close, but we still lost. And last night we had the Bears getting 5.5 in the LA Rams, and Chicago, I think, forgot to get off the plane at LAX because they looked terrible. We were actually watching that game. The one game we had right, though, was a local field. The Giants, +3.5 in Philly. They kind of blew the lead and lost the game, but they still covered the 3.5. So we went 1-4 in the week. And now we are in this kind of interesting zone here, Dougie Sticks, where we are 4-3. So this is a big week. Do we go 2 above 500 and even up our record? Or do we sink to a 500?
No, we won't sink. We'll even out.
We're wondering, why are we doing football first? Well, because I think shortly we should have a guest to do some hockey in a little bit. So we're going to start with NFL, and here are the Week 7 picks. Let's go local. Let's get Dougie Sticks involved right away with the first pick.
Ooh,
Dougie,
I like it.
I'm going to tell you a spread. I want you to tell me your thoughts.
Okay.
The New York Football Jets,
yes,
the juggernaut of the Jets, are traveling to play the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm looking in the studio. We have a monitor now. You can't see it if you're following it, but we have a big monitor on the side with all the spreads up. Yeah. And the spread matches what it was last night when I did this. And that is the Kansas City Chiefs are giving the Jets 19.5 points. Keep in mind, these are 2 NFL teams, and one team has to give the other team 19.5 points.
True.
Well, before I tell you, because you and I don't rehearse this ahead of time ever. Before I tell you where I'm going, I'm curious, what would you do?
I'm going to say Le'Veon Bell is going to have 19 points alone.
It's possible. Now, Le'Veon Bell, for those who may not follow the Jets or maybe followed them for a week and then gave up, like the majority, was a New York Jet at the beginning of the season. The Jets not only decided to get rid of him, but they decided to just flat out release him and get nothing back.
Nothing in return.
So Le'Veon Bell then signs a couple hours later with the defending champions Kansas City Chiefs, and now will go up against his former team with a chip on his shoulder.
True.
But I don't think they're going to need a chip on the shoulder. So if you were a bettor, would you go with the Chiefs giving 19.5, or would you say the Jets 19.5 is a lot of points, cover it?
Yeah, I think like and also like I was joking, like Le'Veon Bell's gonna have 19 alone. It's possible, but I think they're gonna go up. They're gonna go up like 14 at half, and then start taking their like studs out so that no injuries and stuff. So I think I think that's a safe bet. I would take that bet.
So you would take the 19 and a half.
I would take the 19 and a half.
I never, ever would give 19 and a half points in gambling. Like I would always take the team that's getting 19.
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
Okay.
But I'm not doing it.
You're not doing this.
I'm not doing it. I have taken the Chiefs minus 19 and a half in the thought
You
that
think so?
With the Jets, man, I don't
Let's
know
look at their scores. Let's pull up their scores. They get blown out, but they're not blown out.
Well,
by...
they blew out Denver this weekend, and their defense had 2 defensive touchdowns. So that does back up your argument that they may pull offensive starters. The Jets this weekend versus Buffalo lost 18-10, and they were getting 10.5. So they covered for the first time all season, I believe.
Yeah, never mind. I'm looking at these scores.
That is the first
24-0.
Yeah. So you know what?
36-17.
Pick number 1. Give me the Chiefs minus 19.
30-10.
19 and a half. And not that I ever recommend doing this because we don't want to be guilty if something happened. But if you needed to like bet your mortgage or like you needed to make money in life, take the Chiefs on the money line. The odds will be terrible, but you can still win on it because the Chiefs are not losing this game. Like I don't care if the Chiefs played their 4th string players and said, Patrick Mahomes, you can stay home and watch the game.
Which they should, in all seriousness.
And it still would probably be 19 and a half. So pick number 1, the Chiefs over the lousy Jets. We're giving 19 and a half. I'm going to go back to one of the 101 things I said on week 1 of the NFL season, which was I love to take home teams that are getting points because we lost last week. I am going to go back to basics and I'm going to go back to principles. And I'm going to take the next 3 picks are all home teams getting points. The Detroit Lions, who, yes, they're not great, but they don't suck, are getting 3 points at home versus the Colts. Give me the Lions plus 3 at home versus the Colts. I've said this on the program, and I've been burned by saying this. When I bet against the Colts, it's Phillip Rivers, and we know how bad Phillip Rivers can sometimes be. So if I'm going against you and I'm home and I'm getting points, I'm taking the Lions plus 3. The next one, the Dolphins getting 3.5 at home versus the Rams. The Rams looked awful last week in San Francisco. They looked better last night. They have a short week. They got to go across the country, and they're playing a Dolphins team that is coming off of a bye. So the Dolphins are home. They're getting 3.5. They have the debut of their new quarterback, Tua, from Alabama.
That's a big factor.
I like the Dolphins a lot in this spot. For the Rams now to have to go cross country, give me the Dolphins plus 3.5 at home versus the Rams.
Before you continue, that's a big factor. This is his first game starting.
Yes.
And you're going to take – who are you taking?
I'm taking the Dolphins plus 3.5.
You think the Dolphins are going to beat
the
Goff
and
the Rams?
Goff has not been Goff
for like 3 years.
For 3 years. So, yeah, you know what? Again, Rams got to go cross country. Dolphins coming off a bye. And I'm protected by a field goal, right? If I'm getting 3.5, the Rams can kick a last-second field goal, win the game, but I still win my bet because it's 3.5. So give me the Dolphins plus 3 at home versus the Rams. The next one is a great game, and I didn't realize they were playing each other until I looked at it this morning. And that is the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers going into the Baltimore Ravens, who have lost once, I believe. This is an awesome game. Right now, the line is Pittsburgh getting 3.5. I like Pittsburgh here. I don't know that they'll win, but I don't think it'll be a blowout either. Pittsburgh's riding some pretty good momentum here early season on. Again, plus 3.5. I'm protected with the field goal. Give me Pittsburgh. The last game is, again, this home theory of mine. Cincinnati plus 5.5 at home versus Tennessee. Tennessee's coming off a loss. Cincinnati has got Burrow, who's been playing okay, but they're getting 5.5 at home. That's a lot of points. So give me Cincy. So my week 7, 7 picks. We're already week 7.
Yeah, man.
The Lions plus 3 at home versus the Colts. The Dolphins plus 3.5 at home versus the Rams. The Chiefs giving 19.5, and that is unfathomable to say. The Chiefs giving 19.5 points in an NFL football game to the New York Football Jets. Pittsburgh plus 3.5 at Baltimore, and Cincinnati plus 5.5 at home. versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, we always pick the local games, and this week we picked one of the local games in our picks, which is the Jets, but we have to pick the Giants game. So why don't you scroll down to Monday night and see if the spread is still 10.5?
Where are they at?
They're going to be all the way at the bottom because they're Monday night. And there we go. And they are still 10.5. So the New York Football Giants, coming off a ridiculous loss in Philly, that you can't even imagine how they lost that game with the lead they had. But they come home on Monday Night Football to play the red hot. And I say red hot.
And getting hotter and hotter.
And getting hotter and getting Antonio Brown. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady comes into MetLife Stadium on Monday night, and the Giants at home are getting 10.5 points. What do you think?
10 is a weird score. If it was 7, no brainer. 7 touchdown, no brainer. 10.5. Now we're talking like two. You're talking 3 scores, 2.5 scores. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to take Tampa. Because
it's a good
here's
bet.
the thing. Tampa's going to score with that offense, right?
Yeah.
So if Tampa scores, let's say 30, which may not be a lot for them, that means the Giants are going to have to score 19.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So if I look at that,
they're not scoring.
Right, if Tampa's going to score a lot, which they're going to, the Giants have to come within 10 of that. They're not. So give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus 10.5 on Monday night.
Which is sad because if you've been watching the Giants a little bit, like they get in the red zone a lot, but nothing comes out of it.
No. The Giants are frustrating. So it's frustrating. We can go down this road for a couple minutes, which is fantasy football. I had Saquon. He was my first round pick, second overall pick in the draft, gone in week 2 in Chicago to a torn ACL. The Giant offense it's like the Jets. But it's a different type of painful to watch.
Yeah.
They're both painful to watch. I don't know. We were watching Thursday night. The Giants were in Philly, and a buddy of mine, and he wasn't wrong in saying this. The Giants were 1-5 going into the game versus Philly, who was 2-4, and it was a first place. The game was for first place. That's how bad the NFC East is right now. So, I kind of got into it. It was Thursday night. There really wasn't anything else on TV on Thursday. And I'm not really into the World Series. As you see, we never talk baseball really on this program. So I was kind of tuned in, and it's just frustrating because, like, the Giants can do 2 really good offensive plays, and then they'll take the step back, right? They just go backwards. Yeah. And it's frustrating to watch.
You want an analogy? Just came to my brain. So if you're watching, this is the Jets versus the Giants, right? If you're watching the Jets and you see something like bad happen, you're like, come on, coach. Like, what are you thinking? Kind of thing. Like, oh, stupid play. But if you're watching the Giants, you're like talking to the player. Like, what are you thinking?
Right.
That was a dumb move. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. It definitely does make sense. And either way, whichever theory of the two you just said you want to subscribe to.
Like Danny Dimes tripped on his own 2 feet. Like,
why does Danny Dimes, and it's not you who does this, everyone does this. Okay. Has he ever done anything worthy enough to have a nickname like that? If you think
one game, he had one good breakout game
in Tampa.
Yeah, and it was like Danny Dimes, our savior.
Right. Which, if I'm not mistaken, was last year, like maybe week 4 or 5. But it's like this guy has this pretty cool nickname. Like, I would like someone to call me Danny Dimes or Jeff. Well, it wouldn't work with the J, but if someone called me Danny Dimes, like you would think you would have done. This guy hasn't done anything.
He had one good game.
And again, he comes from Duke. It's not really like a football breeding ground of NFL Hall of Famers.
They try to find the closest thing to Eli. I mean, that's what you got.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which was I don't know why. And like, he wasn't ready. Eli should have finished that season out. They rushed him into it. He had like one good game. He threw a couple good passes. Yeah, it's not no bueno.
Yeah. Well, there's always next year, as we say in New York sports.
Who's Trevor Lawrence going to?
Well, Trevor Lawrence, we talked about this last week on the program, is if the Jets get – was it you who told me this? I don't remember who told me this, that the offensive coordinator at Clemson has said if the New York Jets end up with the number 1 pick, he is going to recommend Trevor Lawrence, you stay in school.
Wow. He's going to pull an Eli.
I mean, can you blame the guy?
No. I mean, Sam Darnold was first round, right? First pick?
3rd overall.
First quarterback? Or
no,
Baker
Baker Mayfield went. So
Still.
if you remember that day, so that was a weird draft because it wasn't Baker Mayfield was not like, runaway number one pick like Trevor Lawrence would be.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went into that Thursday of that NFL draft, the Jets had the third pick, and you really didn't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some people wanted Sam Darnold, some people wanted Baker Mayfield, but you were going to you didn't get to pick, right? It was like whoever was picked before you, they're going to leave you one of the leftovers, but you would be happy with ever the leftovers. Yeah. Well, later on that day, it came out like maybe about a couple hours before the draft. Someone said leaked that Cleveland was going to take Mayfield, which meant Sam Darnold from USC was gonna fall to the Jets, right?
Yep.
And the Jets general manager at the time, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the guy's name. I could see his face. Said this is exactly what we wanted. We feel like this is we got the number one pick at the third because this is who we would have taken. Guy is not good. So,
but imagine Baker running around, scrambling around, throwing interceptions all day.
I mean, Baker Mayfield is not, the next coming of Peyton Manning either.
Yeah.
But at this point in their career, wouldn't you rather have? If I said to you, Dougie Sticks is a Jet fan,
okay,
would you rather have Baker Mayfield right now or Sam Darnold? Who you take?
I feel like in the system that we're running, you would just have Baker running around getting sacked all day. Granted, Sam is not the fastest guy in the world. He's getting sacked all day too. But you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like in the system, I can't see him being in that system. I can't imagine Baker doing anything better.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's get Trevor, man.
Well, we'll see what the Jets do with that. I mean, they could certainly go out and get Trevor Lawrence. We'll see. But
see what happens.
In any event, so for NFL, let's hope we can get back on the train tracks here this weekend and get a winning week there with our Week 7 picks. And we will find out. No, wait a second. This is Week 8. That's why I was confused. We are 4-3.
Did we make the right picks?
Well, no, we picked the right game.
We have to go back.
We just did not get the week right. But Week 8, those are our Week 8 NFL picks for this weekend as we approach Halloween. So we're going to now shift gears to hockey on the program. And many of you know, if you follow the show, I am a season ticket holder for the New York Rangers. So we do get occasionally to our email New York Ranger questions that I try to answer. But I would say I'm a knowledgeable fan, but there are people that are more knowledgeable than me. One of which, if you subscribe to social media, which we all do. And I say that now my 9-year-old daughter the other day is asking for social media. So everybody subscribes to social media in some ways to get news as well. And one of the better Instagram sites out there, if you are on Instagram and you are an NHL hockey fan, or in particular of the New York Rangers, is a website and Rangers_trades_signings on the Instagram. And we'll do some links to
Rangers
it. _trades _signings. And it is, I will say, one of the better, if not the best, Ranger fan site out there for knowledgeable information. Now, I subscribe to a lot of them, but I tend to find that site is the best. There you go.
The spelling's good? Spelling's good?
Yeah, the spelling.
Right,
the spelling is perfect. So you can you could, if you are a New York Ranger fan, go to that site, subscribe to it. It is updated often. And I have found, especially in the off-season mode, which we're in the NHL, that site reports stuff sometimes quicker than like the beat writers, like Larry Brooks and all those guys. So that site is run by Michael Ferry, and we're going to bring Michael Ferry onto the program today. And I believe he is ready. And we're going to fire some of the more popular questions that we have gotten for someone who is more knowledgeable than me. And I think we'll do a good job at answering the questions. So, Michael, can you hear us? Let's see if technology is working.
Yeah, for sure. How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you? And I like the shirt that kind of goes with the Instagram page.
Michael, being the technical man that I am, if you're using a phone, can you flip it sideways? That might
for sure.
help with the black bars.
There
we go. Oh, yeah.
That's a better view. There we go.
Look at that. Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining us. So on our program, we get a lot of Ranger stuff. I try to answer it. I'm a season ticket holder. If you ever need tickets, let me know. and when they return to the Garden in 2027 at this rate. So we get a lot of Ranger questions. I try to answer them, but I figured, hey, why not bring on a guy who probably knows more than me? And that is you. So I'm going to fire some of the more popular questions. You can let me know your opinion. So why don't we start at the top, which is one of the questions in the last week and a half we've gotten, which is the Tony DAngelo contract. To me, I wanted them to re-sign Tony DAngelo. I didn't think it was like a necessity. If he went elsewhere, I would have been fine with it. But they gave him a lot of money. Do you feel that they gave him too much money in the contract that they gave him?
I feel like they gave him too little. I think DAngelo is eventually, he's one of the top defensemen in the NHL in terms of offense. His defense needs a little bit of work on it. He's getting better year by year. But I would like to see them sign him to a long-term extension, like 5-6 years, and not this bridge deal contract that they gave him. And you'd lock him up for, a majority of his prime, as opposed to now where they only have him for a year or two. And then you're going to have to re-sign him once he gets unrestricted free agency. And that's going to give them problems in the long run. So that's just where I stand on it. And, I personally really like DAngelo. I think he's probably one of the better defensemen. And I just think he's, I think if you sign him long term, I think that relieves a lot of your cap pressure. And I think that's probably the way you go. But it's all right. It's a bridge deal, so can't complain about it. Can't be mad about it. Can't really be happy about it. But it would help them in the long run if they signed him longer term.
Okay. Yeah, I was happy they re-signed him, and the 2 years is, I guess you're right, more of a bridge. Okay. We're having some internet issues here in the studio. Can you hear us okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think it's probably my Wi-Fi.
Or not? Can you hear me okay, Mike?
That helps. All right. Yeah, I don't know. My Wi-Fi is being a little bit weird, but if this works for you guys, I'm fine with it.
You got me or
is
no?
Is it working for you? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me or no?
Okay. All right. Let me go to the next question then. You got me?
Yep.
Okay. We're gonna try this. We're gonna trudge through the internet issues here, which may be on our end because there's been issues in the studio here today. So the loss of Jesper Fast. Some people, I'm not going to mention names because I know some people listen to the show and they disagree with me on this. We're totally up in arms about losing Jesper Fast. About how could they let a guy, he's a locker room guy, he's the heart and soul of this team, blah, blah, blah. Look, if Jesper Fast is on this roster going forward, it doesn't increase the odds they're going to win a Stanley Cup. I like the guy. He's a good penalty killer. He blocks a lot of shots. But he's not a guy that's ever, to me, was a necessary re-signing. What's your thought on them just losing Jesper Fast?
So I kind of agree with you in terms of where it's not going to be a deal breaker for them, whether they re-sign him or not, in terms of success in the future. He got that 3-year contract from Carolina. It was a little bit less than most people thought. But I for years have always thought that Fast was a little bit overrated by the Rangers fans. They tend to view him as like, this such an important piece of the team who, you can't lose. And he had, he's for years.
Mike, we're getting a little technical difficulties on. I don't know if you're like by the router. If you can get closer to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'm actually.
Now it goes in and out. Yeah, it comes in and out. So like we hear like half what you're saying. Like right now, I could see you moving, and then when you start to say the good stuff, it goes out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sitting right by the router right now.
Are you close? Are you close to the Wi-Fi? Are you close to the box?
Yeah, actually, my phone's like actually laying on top of it. So yeah, that's weird. My Wi-Fi's been working all day.
Okay. We will trudge up. We will move on then. Your thoughts? Let me. Okay. Well, we got you now, so we'll go through. So let me ask you this: I've never seen such an opposite polar opposite reactions to the signing of a player to a one-year deal than I've seen with Jack Johnson. Either some people like it, or there's some people that just literally lose their mind over Jack Johnson signing with the Rangers. What do you think of Jack Johnson here in New York?
So he's one of the guys where, he's kind of made a meme of in the NHL by all the analytical people, everybody that just, lives and dies by the charts, whether they're above that line in terms of, whether their numbers show that they're a good analytical player or if they're, awful. And Johnson, in terms of analytics, is looked at as the worst defenseman in the NHL. If you actually watch the games, you can see that he's obviously not a top tier defenseman. I mean, he's a third pair defenseman, but he replicates kind of what Mark Stahl plays like, and that gritty veteran leadership who's gonna kill penalties for you. He's not gonna put too many points up on the board, but he's gonna be stable on your back end, and I think that's exactly what the Rangers are looking for. So I think Johnson is gonna be helpful to the Rangers as opposed to kill them and be like an awful defenseman for them, like fans are showing and saying they believe. So I don't think that's what's going to happen, and I just feel like it was a good signing. It's a one-year contract. I mean, if it doesn't work out, you can play Hayek. So it's a low risk. It's not really high reward, but it's not an awful signing in terms of who else you could have had there.
Okay. Yeah, my thought with him was that, the Rangers brought in Jacques Martin to run the defense going forward here, and he's familiar with Jack Johnson. And I know John Davidson had said, look, we kind of spoke with Jacques Martin, and he kind of got his blessing to make the signing, and he would know. So I'm all right with it. Look, it's 1 year. I'm not sure that they're going to contend for the Cup this year. I'd love to be wrong on that. I think their rebuild is getting there. So I think for the 1 year, it's fine. And if anything, it brings in experience. Your thought on Igor Shesterkin? Obviously, the Rangers' plan is for him to be the number one guy. Do you think he can? And we're probably not headed to an 82-game season with what's going on. But would he be ready in a normal year, you think, for a full season workload? Or is Georgiev really going to play a pretty healthy amount of games for a backup?
I cannot say enough good things about Shesterkin. I am probably the biggest Igor Shesterkin believer and supporter that exists. I probably believe in Shesterkin more than the Rangers themselves do. I think this guy has all the talent in the world. I think he's a franchise goaltender, and I think he could easily handle that 50-game workload, and you could give Georgiev 30, or maybe even increase Shesterkin's workload to 55, 60 games and only play Georgiev for that 20, 25 games. Everything about Shesterkin is solid. He handles himself like a professional. Great technique in net. And I think this guy is going to be absolute money for them.
Well, that's what we like to hear, is the backstop in the nets at Madison Square Garden for the next 10 or 15 years. How painful was it for you to, because I know for me, I mean, look, the Lundqvist thing, they did the right thing. I quoted a line from a song from the Fray growing up. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. It was the right thing to do. They didn't need Henrik Lundqvist here, but we love the guy. How hard was it for you to see him in the Capital jersey?
Well, I'm a junior in high school right now, so I've watched him kind of my whole life growing up. He's been that goalie that I've seen take them to the playoffs, bail them out of games, be a fan favorite. So it was a little tough. When I got the news, I was actually in class, looked at my phone, and I saw that they bought him out officially. Tweet from the Rangers, they officially bought him out. It was a little weird when you think about it. Lundqvist isn't going to be, between the pipes for the Rangers next season. He's going to be in a Capital jersey. But I'm really, going back to Shesterkin, I'm really hopeful that Shesterkin can take his place. So it's bittersweet because I think it'll give Shesterkin a lot of opportunity, but it's also going to be very weird seeing Hank in a Caps jersey in the team.
Okay. Let me ask you a player. And he probably doesn't deserve this comparison, but this was what I was told years ago about him, that he had the ability to be, if he reached the prime, the next Vladimir Tarasenko, who we know has had a great career in St. Louis, and that is Pavel Buchnevich. Are we ever going? I feel like with him, we just don't ever see sustained growth. We get the same player. Maybe he peaks for a month or two here, but overall, we're not seeing overall long-term growth. So, with that being said, do you think that this is a crucial season coming up for Pavel Buchnevich if he's going to be here long-term?
I definitely do. There's no guarantee he even makes it to this season. I think there's a possibility that they move him this offseason. I don't think it's likely, but I think there's definitely a chance. I definitely think this is a defining season for Buchnevich in terms of himself and his future with the Rangers, because he's a free agent this offseason. I believe he's a UFA. I could be wrong on that. He could be an RFA, but I believe he's a UFA. And
Right.
if he's for a year, he could be getting $6-7 million in the open market, or getting to the Rangers if he's an RFA. And like I said, I'm not really sure. And if he has another 40-point season like he's had the last 3 years, he'll probably get a contract in that 3 years, $3 million range. Nothing special. But it's just so frustrating. He has good games. He has awful games where you don't even realize he's, on the ice half the time. And, hopefully he can find it this year. But I really just see him as that, 30, 40, 45-point player that you can slide in your second line if you need to.
Got it. Yeah, and as we see in sports, and maybe Tony DAngelo was an example of this previous year, when you're in that contract year, you seem to have these really good years because you're playing for a contract. So maybe we'll see that this coming year. Last question for you. With the draft, the Rangers, they had the 22nd pick and then moved up to number 19 and drafted this kid, Brandon Schneider, who I guess some of the backstory now that came out after the draft was that the Rangers were kind of felt compelled to move up because the Devils were picking behind them at 20 and were really high on the kid, so they kind of took him from the Devils. What did you think of that pick? Were you okay with it?
Well, anything ruined. Can you hear me? No, did it cut out, or can you hear me? Sorry, I apologize. My phone went weird. I'm just gonna give my answer anyway because I'm not really 100% sure. So any day you get to ruin a Devil fans, day with that draft pick, stealing Schneider for them, and that was great. I would have liked to see them go forward there, take a center. Hendrix Lapierre was there. I really liked him. There were a couple other guys I think they could have taken. Schneider's gonna be a solid defenseman for them if he ever plays for them. The pick. You go. You go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was.
It's just for me.
Thought they were gonna get one of the centers, either Lapierre, Zari, or something, a center that Calgary ended up taking at the pick we swapped with them, but. Anyway, thanks, Mike, for joining us. I appreciate you taking some time. I know you're a busy guy with class and whatnot, and hope. Well, I think we're trudging through some technical difficulties, so hopefully we'll get you back on the show a couple of weeks, and we'll be previewing the 2020-2021 season, whatever that may be. So thanks for coming on, Mike, all right?
So
that was
Mike
Ferry, who runs the... Hey, yeah, no problem. No problem. We'll get it sorted. We'll have you back. ...365 days of the year. even during the season, there's always stuff going on. So we apologize if the technical difficulties there.
Oh yeah, yeah. We got to get some new internet in here. We're gonna work on that today.
I tell you,
New wiring.
by the time we leave the studio in about 15 minutes, there'll be like a little Verizon trucks. So. I was telling you before the show, and I'll bring it up here. The town that we filmed this show in Bergen County. And Bergen County is, for those who don't know, not too far outside of New York City, which really was a pretty bad hotspot for coronavirus back in the spring. And it's kind of trending the wrong way right now. Well, the county that we live in, Bergen County, has this now. I don't want to call it like a mobile task force, but it's a mobile unit. It goes to certain towns, in advance, and you can go and get coronavirus tested. So later on this week, it is scheduled to be in the town that I live in. Now, I was going to go do that, but I decided I'm going to go from here because they're actually not too far from the studio today. But what's a little bit difficult, Dougie Sticks,
Yes.
and again, I have no symptoms, so let me just throw that out there at all. I'm just really just going to get tested because it's free and it takes 2 minutes. But you cannot eat now. They have this saliva test that you can do because I'm not a fan of the nose swab, which I don't think anybody is, that you can get done. But you cannot eat or drink for the previous 20 minutes or so, or 30 minutes, I believe it is. So I now am going to have to get rid of my drink. Challenge myself with that. Anything else on your end there, partner?
Verizon's going to get it. Optimum's going to get it. Whoever the wiring guy is going to get it. But I apologize for the technical difficulties. I always like to assume responsibility, but it's like, I'm handcuffed here.
Don't worry about it. It happens, and we'll get it rectified, and we'll get Mike back on the show because, as you could tell from what we did here, even through the technical difficulties, he knows his stuff, to say the least, and is a great insight.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, he looked. I mean, I'm going to get late teen years, early 20s. I mean, guy knows his stuff.
Knows his ranges, man.
Understanding of the game at a young age, we always like. So that'll be it for the program today. We appreciate you tuning in with us. We will be back next week. Happy Halloween to those out there who celebrate in any way, shape, or form, whether that be having your kids like mine stuff their face full of candy. And this will be a different year trick-or-treating for sure with everything going on. But however you choose to celebrate this year, let's hope that you all have a good time this weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, eat a lot of candy, and we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.